my YouTube family. This is the OG Crypto Newjack coming at you with some juicy news. But before I begin, let me say I'm not a financial advisor. Anything you see or hear in this video is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial advice. Remember to do your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making investment decisions. We're going to take a look at the crypto market cap, and it's coming in at $1.24 trillion. It is up 2%. Coming in at number one is Bitcoin at 30,971. Coming in at number two is Ethereum at 1,908. My beloved XRP is coming in at number 6 at 47 cents. Taking a look at crypto bubbles, it looks like it's mostly green, and looks like Hex is the biggest winner, being up 8.3%. The Fear and Greed Index is in green at 56. Okay, shout out to Mac Attack. He writes Ripple Labs to tokenize the multi-billion-dollar real estate industry. We brushed on this in our previous video. Okay, shout out to Cowboy Crypto, and this is Brad Garlinghouse discussing exactly that. Let me play.
I think, however, I'll pick on one. It's a company that I am not involved with, but I find to be super interesting. The settlement, and by the way, I know shit all about this, so I apologize in advance if I'm stepping in it, but settlement of transactions for the real estate industry to me are like the costs involved, the title insurance, like it's crazy how much it costs. There's a very cool company called Proppy, which is relatively small right now, trying to basically tokenize real estate transactions. So if you own a home, you own an apartment, you own a building, and you can fractionalize the building ownership. It's just an area that I find super interesting. That the amount of friction where it hasn't kept up with the efficiencies of technology, I think is an interesting one. And I use that example because it's not one that Ripple's like to go work on. Yeah. But look, there are a whole bunch of things. If the magic and novelty of a blockchain is to allow two parties to transact with certainty, but without trust, you don't have to have the trust. Now, today, we commute trust through a central counterparty. And that central counterparty in correspondent banking is that correspondent bank, and that's where cross-border payments and Ripple's focus there. But if you're in the real estate industry, there's a central counterparty that commutes trust of a transaction, and you buy title insurance and all these things. I think any industry that has a consequential central counterparty that's extracting tolls and slowing transactions down is at risk from how blockchain technologies can impact those industries.
Very good. Moving on, this is the XRPL HQ. It's a new website, and it's got everything. You have here XRP Rich List, the calculator. If you're a content creator, they got everything. Payments, wallets, DeFi, content creators, exchange. It is a wonderful new website. Check it out when you get a chance, xrplhq.com. Okay, shout out to Chad Steingraber. Now at launch, there are daily transaction limits. These will raise fast as more and more institutions come on board. Ask yourself, what happens when a rising tsunami of value is hitting wave after wave 24/7 on the protocol? Go up and never stop. And I 100% agree with that. Shout out to Nick, Crypto Crusader. While retail continues to be distracted by nonsense, I continue to focus on the big connections behind the scenes. The other day, I uncovered a few documents with the IMF. The utility theory also shared a ton of information as well. These documents 100% confirm that there is a systemic change coming to the global financial system. I'm rolling the dice and betting on the utility assets that are mentioned in the IMF, BIS, World Bank documents like XRP, XLM, XCC, Quant, etc. I strongly believe in other players too, like HBAR, Casper, and NXRA, and others. Utility is the key and will be the key, but first we need a regulatory rug pull of the garbage in this space. Connections networking is happening. When this technology is being trial tested by giants within the global system, it's only a matter of time. Things are moving fast, but many don't realize it. Okay, moving on. Gold Telegraph put this out, breaking news. An increasing number of countries are repatriating gold reserves as protection against the sort of sanctions imposed by the West on Russia. We've been saying this for a while now. Okay, moving on. Anthony Welfare, he put out, working in the Ripple New York City office this week. I'm very pleased to see our first ever CBDC award awarded by Currency Research at the 2023 Digital Currency Conference for our advancement in digital currency, best sustainability initiative. Ripple has a long history from inception of sustainability projects, and we are making sure the CBDC team continue to develop long-term sustainable solutions for our customers and partners. And this is a picture of their award. Very nice. Congrats to them. Shout out to Eleanor Tourette. She responded to a tweet from Marcha Guru where he wrote, just in, 820 billion Standard Chartered banks predicts Bitcoin will reach 120,000 by the end of 2024. And Eleanor Tourette, the Bulls are out to play this month. Okay, moving on. Shout out to the digital asset investor. The SEC knows who the four Satoshis are. Dirty little secret, Ashley Prosper Credit to Nerd Nation Unboxed. Martin Zerwitz is a senior counsel in the SEC Division of Environment Cyber Unit at the time, was in the room and referenced in this video when Rana Saud, Assistant Special Agent in charge of Homeland Security Investigations, said that they had met with the four Satoshis. Let me play the video.
But in all seriousness, I think this was the best demonstration that I could come up with is how cryptocurrency works. This is not going to be a technical explanation. Maybe the guy from SEC, Martin, right? No? You don't want to do a technical explanation of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or the blockchain? I do want to say that both of these folks are government employees, SEC and Homeland Security, so anything that I say certainly does not reflect upon them or their agency, because I want them to keep their jobs and, you know, have wonderful careers. But in all seriousness, what you've got is you've got two people here that have a lot of specialized knowledge. I worked with Rana way back in the day in Orlando, and she's promoted and become somebody that's really embedded in the issue of cryptocurrency. Same thing with Martin. He's in a specialized unit with the SEC. And if you were at the earlier panel, one thing that you're going to find is that the government is on this. In all seriousness, I've got lots of contacts that are still with the enforcement agencies, and it's pretty remarkable that the United States government has really been on the cutting edge, in my opinion, for this. Didn't take this laying down. There's some other frauds I think that they probably did that with, but not with this one. So there's a concerted effort by not only the United States, but some of these foreign governments to really address these issues. But in all seriousness.
Okay, moving on from there. Shout out to Ashley Pasco, ship it out. What we know about Bitcoin: license owned by MIT, hashing algorithm created by the NSA, code created by Anonymous, but not anonymous to Homeland Security, creator Satoshi. It's slow, expensive, scalability issues, energy intensive. I don't trust MIT. I don't trust Homeland Security. I can't trust Satoshi, and I certainly don't trust the NSA. For the reasons Bitcoin has never been in my portfolio. And that's her opinion. She has a right to her opinion. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Digital Perspectives. And he writes, it was never Bitcoin. I've always believed Bitcoin was a government psyop. Know what you hold. And this is a tweet from Merlin that he writes, what do you think Bitcoin and OpenCoin, known now as XRP, was launched from? Recent documents state it was in a facility in Nevada. Very probable NSA. And who did David Schwartz work for, and why did he contribute to the crypto being made digital? Let me play the video.
For you kids, SHA-256. You know what SHA-256 is? It's the algorithm that is behind the encryption of Bitcoin. You know who invented SHA-256? NSA. Look that up. Think about that. The government created the encryption that Bitcoin uses. In fact, the government created the entire internet. I'm just saying, if you're going to release something to the world or let it be released to the world, and you're the creator of everything, just a few things to think about.
Okay, moving on to the Black Swan Capitalists. Shout out to them. They put out startling findings hint at a deeper narrative behind Bitcoin involving NSA and Mossad. Once you follow the trail of SHA-256, you'll discover that Bitcoin was designed to condition people for the digital transformation. Let me play the video.
People don't know what SHA-256 is, and so that's the algorithm behind Bitcoin's encryption. Now, SHA-256 was actually created and designed by the NSA. So, and not to mention, like you said earlier, Bitcoin was created in 2009, right after the 2008 crisis. Yep. So there's just so much data that is out there, if you get your hands on it and find it, that kind of indicate that Bitcoin is a government operation. And just as you said, it is to transition society into adopting and conditioning them to be, to get used to digital currencies.
Okay, shout out to Black Swan Capitalists. Okay, moving on. Black Swan Capitalists again, they say, if the SEC claims victory, don't be fooled. The unstoppable rise of XRP continues worldwide, leaving the US behind. Once you understand the geopolitical landscape, you'll know there is a monumental power shift towards the east. No one cares about Gary Gensler. 100% agree with that. Okay, shout out to XRP Pro. He writes, this is the Holy Grail. First, get banks connected on RippleNet to settle with fiat. Then get them to source liquidity using XRP. Then get them to hold XRP directly, the Holy Grail. This is Dilip Rao, former global head of infrastructure innovation at Ripple. Let me play the video.
Today uses fiat currencies. So the convergence that we see coming in the next phase is for banks to have an option to say, do I want to use XRP? So instead of the German bank holding Turkish lira, they could say, Akbank, are you able to accept XRP and give me Turkish lira? Here's 100 lira worth of XRP. Here's 1 million lira worth of XRP. And instantly that can be settled without having to hold balances. So that's the Holy Grail. That's the ultimate end goal that we're aiming for. But if you don't have connectivity, you can't even start. So first you get the banks connected. They do what they're doing today better. They like it. They build new services on it. Then they go, I want to do this in 100 countries, but I can't hold currencies in 100 countries. Well, guess what? You got XRP. So it's a phase strategy, but that's the way, back in.
Exactly. I can't wait for all this to be implemented. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Michael Branch. He put out, Meta Lawman believes that Coinbase is likely to win the major doctrine questions argument, either at district court or during appeal. And again, with Michael Branch, he put out, for a recent update, the XRPL has unveiled a remarkable milestone with the 81 millionth ledger close in the early hours of today. That is good to see as well. Okay, shout out to Chad Steingraber. Temenos 24 certified FedNow, certified IBM. Every eye will see. And he has a video here. Let me play the video.
And we're talking about IBM and Temenos partnership. And this week you have shared that Temenos has been certified for Red Hat and IBM infrastructure. So what does this mean for your clients?
That's right. So we've certified Transact on the IBM stacks, if you like. So underneath Red Hat, we've got also Linux One, IBM Power, and FS Cloud. And what that really means for our clients, our joint clients, is that they can basically deploy Temenos software on the IBM infrastructure with confidence, knowing that we work together to do all the necessary work, due diligence, to verify and prove out the architecture, the runbooks, all security, and all the various controls and elements that go around it. So not only is it good to go now, but also will continue to be so into the future.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Mr. Man. Bank of America says Ripple making waves in cross-border payments with blockchain, says the Daily Hall. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Truth Labs. If you only knew how much the CCP controlled Ethereum, ERC-20s, and a long list of others. Below is a sample of our Bridge to Truth, which we have been working on and will share with you at a later date. Stay curious, my friends. And this is the chart he's talking about, where you have Vitalik Buterin, Wang Zhang, and so tangle what they weave. And we kind of all figured that out anyway. But moving on, shout out to CryptoEra. There's a reason Ripple applied for a Hong Kong proof of concept, clear regulation. As one of 16 firms, along with Alipay, Bank of China, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Banking Corp, and others, all will showcase programmable, tokenized, offline payments, or tokenized settlements. Let me play the video.
But in terms of virtual assets, the philosophy that we have is very simple. This trend will continue. And plus, virtual assets or crypto is actually a very broad term. It's not really just on back crypto. You're talking about stable coins or tokenized assets in the future. So what we want to do in Hong Kong is to say that, hey, this trend will continue. Let's put in the right regulatory framework in using the principle of same activity, same risk, and same regulation. So our regulation will be tight. If you perform any activity that resembles traditional finance, we'll put in the same regulation to you. But under this regulatory framework, whether it's the trading platform for crypto or in future stable coins that we are going to have a legislation, we are working on that. But so under this regulatory framework for trading platforms, stable coins, etc., we will let the industry develop and innovate. We will let them create the ecosystem here. And that actually brings a lot of excitement. But that doesn't mean light touch regulation. If any participant thought that the regulation is too tight, they're welcome to go elsewhere. So we have this regulatory framework. Let's develop our ecosystem here in a healthy and sustainable way. But in terms
Unbelievable. I don't know why the United States cannot do the same thing. Killing crypto innovation here. Unbelievable. Okay, moving on. Shout out to John Dean. He writes, I was wondering whether Grayscale was going to do this. The SEC and Gary Gensler have approved a Bitcoin future ETF, Bitcoin short ETF, and a Bitcoin leverage ETF, but denies a spot ETF because it can be manipulated. Gensler is the bad faith regulator, period. And Bitcoin Magazine had put in, Justin Grayscale sends a letter to the judge protesting how can a leverage 2x Bitcoin ETF be approved by the SEC but not a spot Bitcoin ETF? It doesn't make sense because the Bitcoin leverage one is the one where most people are going to get wrecked. And if they're here to protect investors, why aren't they protecting the investors from wrecking themselves in a leverage ETF as opposed to a spot ETF? It defies logic. So hopefully the judge can see through the SEC's BS and we can get on with this in the United States. Okay, here we have Cameron Winklevoss. Shout out to him for putting this thing out. Former SEC Chairman Jay Clayton outlines arguments for why spot Bitcoin ETFs should be approved. The audacity on this guy, when he could have been the one to approve it when he was in the chair of the SEC, but failed to do so. Let me play the video.
Can they say no to a spot ETF? Well, how much longer?
Well, it goes to that issue. I think that when the SEC approved the futures-based ETF, they said, let's look at the futures market. We see the surveillance. We see the protections in that market for the end investor that are sufficient. We don't see them in the spot market, so we're going to make that distinction. I think what the institutions are arguing is that those distinctions have gone away, and now the spot product is actually less drag, more efficient for the investor. So if there's not that delta in regulation, not that delta in what I can say efficacy, the spot should be approved. That's the argument that's going on right now. Look, the regulatory process, whether it doesn't matter.
It's been a while already.
It's been a while already. What I would say is this: if they're right, that you can demonstrate that the spot market has similar efficacy to the futures market, it would be hard to resist approving a Bitcoin ETF.
Oh boy, I want to throw up. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Easy for bringing this to our attention. SEC director says it's reasonable for Judge Torres to lock Ripple's escrow accounts forever. At that point, what happens to the price? If escrow is locked forever, can it be destroyed? What will happen to Ripple's business model? That brings up a lot of questions, and I have to agree with Jimmy Valley here. It says, how would this be implemented from a tech perspective? An order from a U.S. federal district judge directing the validators, many of which are not in the U.S., and not subject to U.S. jurisdiction, to vote to permanently lock the escrow? Why do they vote to unlock it later? This is pretty much, in my opinion, dead on arrival. Here is the article from the Crypto Basic, where, and by the way, Mark Fagel is a former regional director of the SEC. And it says here, dream ruling. In what was tagged in his dream ruling, the XRP enthusiast said he wishes that Judge Annalisa Torres levy a heavy fine against Ripple for initially offering XRP as a security. The user claimed that he has gone through Ripple's emails and believes the company deserves to be fined. Furthermore, Jackal also wishes that the judge orders the majority of XRP and Ripple's escrow accounts to be handed over to the SEC and locked forever. In return, the user said, moving forward, the judge should declare all circulating XRP as a commodity. Interestingly, the tweet attracted Fagel's attention, who noted that the user's dream ruling for SEC Ripple case sounds reasonable enough. Apparently, Jacko and Mark Fagel, who I can't believe is a former regional director of the SEC, can say that sounds reasonable enough. He must not know how the XRPL works, because there are validators that have to be in consensus. So even though Judge Torres, I'm 100% sure, would never make that kind of ruling, even if she did in this crazy scenario, and Ripple was given that order from the judge, and even if they wanted to comply with the order, which they would, because they are a law-compliant company, they wouldn't be able to do it because they would need the consensus of all the validators, many of which are not in the United States and not under the United States jurisdiction, and do not have to obey the laws of the US, because those laws only apply here in the US. They do not apply outside of the US. So this is pretty much dead on arrival. So maybe Mark Fagel may want to touch up and brush up on how the XRPL works with the validators and the consensus before making such a statement. Well, okay, fam, that is going to do it for today's video. If you found this video to be helpful, would you please smash a like and subscribe? I would really appreciate it, and it doesn't cost you anything. Thank you much in advance. And in the words of Snoop Dogg, keep your mind on your money and your money on your mind. Peace out, fam.